So I've just denied the Bible claims to be inspired by God, and Christians will say 2 Timothy 3:16 says it's inspired by God. So what am I talking about? Well, I stand by what I say, because if you read that sentence in context, which Christians just never do, in other words, you read the preceding sentences, the verses that came before and the verses that come after, you have a very different message. What actually has happened, Paul is writing to Timothy, who is a younger follower or student or whatever of Paul. And he says to Timothy, if you read the whole chapter, he refers to the books that Timothy knew as a youth, the sacred scriptures that he knew. Now, did the New Testament exist then? Now, Paul was writing in the 50s AD. The Gospels hadn't been written. Paul's letters hadn't all been written. The New Testament didn't exist. This was canonized centuries later. What Paul is referring to, or referring to Timothy, is the Jewish Bible, not the New Testament. So Paul is saying the Jewish Bible, the sacred scriptures, as he calls them, are inspired by God. But that's not the Christian Bible. The Christian Bible has an Old Testament and a New Testament. Right. So immediately, when you read these verses, instead of just decontextualizing them, you read them in context, the meaning changes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I'm saying, by the way, any scholar knows, it's hardly revolutionary, but it's not how people, when they see that verse taken out of context, they don't read it like that. They think it refers to the whole Christian Bible, but actually it doesn't. And I've had discussions with Christians, and I made this point to them, and they refuse to see it. They refuse to see it. And I know why, because this is their favorite text.
Right.
And if you take that away from their apologetics, this is quite a threat. Even though what I said is obviously the case, if you read the whole chapter, it's not referring to a book. The New Testament didn't even exist. It's impossible for it to mean that.